Stop the cap.
I should not record in this room because I don't particularly care for the echo, but there's a nice comfortable chair I put in here and it's just convenient for me to do it in here. Um, so as you all know, I've been doing a lot of research, and especially having Chat GPT, what is it? Chat GPT 4.0 or 4.0, I don't know what it is, but I had to upgrade and I'm so glad I did because basically that sucker tailors tailors the information that you're looking for like specifically. And so anything I want to look up, I just put it in there, boom, I got the information, I got the links, I got the resources, and I've just been scouring through information. Right? All in my free time, I just been scouring through information. That's why my videos have, really slowed down because I just don't have the time to do it. By the way, I do want to give a shout out to people who hit me up on the Cash App. I'm gonna get there. I haven't, like I said, I've been doing all this other stuff. Um, because I want to get to the bottom of this. And we know Kevin Samuel was brought to everybody's attention, but it was actually BGS. He was the first one to bring it up about the 54% of black men being childless and 61% of black women being mothers. Well, I went and I have been looking at the numbers, looking at the patterns. There's one thing that does not get discussed enough, and I'm going to talk about it. We don't discuss it pretty much at all. The black community doesn't discuss it, or they don't use the academic terminology that revolves around this topic, which is multi-partner family formation, MPF. You could say MPFF, multi-partner family formation. So I'm looking at all communities. I'm looking at our relationship to other communities, what our numbers look like. Here's the deal. So, like I said, 54% of black men are childless. Anybody can pretty much move in and out of that population, but there's no real deviation from that number. Black men have never gone above 50% since 2006. I can't go prior to that. They got a study in 2002, but the way that the data is recorded is completely different than the consistency from the fertility CDC report from 2006 all the way up to 2019. So that's like almost a 20-year span. And I'm saying they're going to come out with another report probably at the end of next year, and we're going to see what that looks like. you know. But and due to the economy and everything, the numbers are probably going to go down, especially for black men. Because one of the things that I notice anytime that there's a dip in the economy, and Cap said this shit a long time ago, anytime there's a dip in the economy, your men are going to withdraw. Plain and simple, call it patriarchy, whatever. Most men are going to withdraw. I like how Cap's uncle said it one time. He was like, man, when I'm not making money, my dick doesn't even get hard. But unfortunately, there is a segment in the black community of black men that don't operate like that. And when it comes to black women don't care. They don't care whether there's oxygen in the air. They don't care whether there's food to eat. They don't care whether there's a war going on. They don't care if there's radioactive isotopes around. They gonna have some damn babies no matter what. No matter what, they're going to have babies. And so I'm looking at the numbers and I'm crunching the numbers. And I just wanted to figure out, I'm like, okay, most of these people, like, one of the key things with black women is that 42% of the 61% of black mothers are having their children under the age of 20. Under the age of 20. And that is, in my opinion, one of the biggest problems, if not the biggest problem. women tend to get with guys that are the next cohort up, right? So if the cohort for under 20 is, let's say, 15 to 20, most of that group that are going to have the babies are going to be that last year of high school. You know, the 17-year-olds, the 18-year-olds, the 19-year-olds. That's who's really having the babies. You can throw in some 16-year-olds and 15-year-olds, but majority of them are getting pregnant by the men in their own cohort, because there's still 15% of black, or what is it, 14% of black boys that are getting that are becoming fathers under the age of 20. So you got to factor that in. And the trends across the board, young boys do not get with older women as a rule. It's the young women getting with the next cohort up. So the girls that are 19, she's getting with the 20 to 24-year-olds. And that's what you see, because you can see when you look at the chart on the CDC report that 14% of black men are having kids under the age of 20, and then 38% of black men are having kids above, the age of 20, from 20 to 24. And then it just like teeters off from there. So the majority of black men that are fathering children are between the ages of 20 and 24. I think there's another slight bump when black men get older. That'll be attributed to all the college graduates. That'll be attributed to the people that are trying to, get their careers established versus, like, that's another bump in, the 30s for both, I can't say both black men and black women, but like, that's just the reality. It kind of just teeters off. I think for black women, it's like it goes into the 20s from 25 to, I think it's like 25, let's say like 25 to 35, and then like 35 to like 40 something. It just teeters off into that, like, it's just a flat, like right around 20%. I don't have it right in front of me right this minute. But most of the kids are being had in early adulthood. I think the average age for black women to have a child is 22 years old. If you average it out, so you can see everything skews. If we had an age line, everything is skewing to the left. Everything is skewing towards, teenage years. So I just wanted to figure out, how many mothers are there and how many fathers are there by the age of 24. So we know that there's 13.4 million black mothers, right? Because if you take 22 million and then you multiply it by 61%, you're going to get 13.4 million. And then we have black men, and if you get 46% of 20 million, you get 9.2 million. So I don't care what type of math you're doing. I don't care what mental gymnastics you want to do. That is your parent population. 13.4 million mothers and 9.2 million fathers. Those are real numbers. That is what you're dealing with. Okay? So I wanted to figure out, how many women are mothers and how many men are fathers at the end of, when they reach 24 years old. And what the math came out to be is that there were 10.33 million mothers, and there was, I think it was 4.78 million fathers. It was under 5, so it's more than double. And then I was like, at first that rang an alarm. I was like, well, goddamn. I was like, because, at 24 years old, that's 2 years after most people will graduate from college. Right? You go into college at 18, 4 years, you graduate, and then you're 22. And so 2 years after you graduate, over what is that? What would that be? 10.33. It's about half of well, yeah. Wait. Hold on. What was the number? I think it was 77% of the 61% of because you're at 10.33 and your total number of black mothers is 13.4. So at 24 years old, 77% of the 61% of black mothers are pretty much like towards completion. Where with black men, I think it was 52%. So in other words, there's still half of black men to go after that point. After age 24, there's still half of the 46% of black men that are fathers that have that time to become fathers, right? Because again, women get with slightly older men. So, like I said, at first that raised an alarm, and then I was like, well, what is it in the white community? So I did the math for the white communities. 97.5 million white fathers. No, excuse me. Yeah, 97.5 million white people. There's 98.5 million white. 97.5 million white men. 98.5 million white women. What was the hold on a second. I can't remember what the numbers were in between, but I know that I ended up with 12 million white fathers doing the same math, 12 million white fathers and 27 million white mothers by age 24. So the number, and I'm saying that's for that age group, because what you got to realize is even a woman that's 23 years old, she's not getting with a 23-year-old. She got pregnant by the guys in the 25 to 30 range. You get what I'm saying? So in other words, when you look at an age group, because the women are getting with slightly older men, the numbers for the men and the women are never going to align within the age group until you get into the later part of life, because women start having children earlier. What I noticed earlier than the men in their same age group. The other thing is that when I looked at all the groups, black women, like Hispanic women, start having kids the earliest. Whites and Asians have their kids much later. Black women have their kids the earliest, and most of them get pregnant the earliest. Because I think black women, they were like 42% have babies underneath the age of 20, and I think with Hispanic women it was 38 something. Right? So they're not far off. But here's the key difference. The key difference is it's two factors here that really fuck up the black community. Right? And it is, tied to the lack of economics. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But the two factors that really crush the black community and just fuck it all to hell are black women getting pregnant underneath the age of 20. 42% of the women becoming mothers. 42% of the 61% of black women becoming mothers before the age of 20. And then the other thing is the men that they have the babies with are not marrying them. Those guys in the 20 to 24 range are not marrying them. And we know why they're not marrying them, because they're not economically stable. This goes back to, Catherine Eden and the whole, what made you a good boyfriend working, part-time at McDonald's makes you a terrible father. And so what ends up happening, and in all the research that I've looked up, there's this woman, I think it's like Karen Guzman and Cassandra Doris, because Cassandra Doris, the woman that got slammed for saying that 59% of black women have multi-partner family formation, and then they didn't do the men, which I think for the men, I think it's 48% of the 46% of fathers. That's the most updated number that I've gotten, Because going back to 2002, I think it was 32% of the men, but now it's 48% of the men of the men who are fathers. Um, so, and that's a number from 2013. That's the best that I could find. So we have 59% of black women have a multi-partner family formation, and we have 48% of black men having multi-partner family formation. I'm saying again, those numbers aren't from the same study, but 2013 is the most updated number that I could find, for the men. And one of the things that consistently was pointed out in all these reports is the fact that these early pregnancies, these early, with black folks in their early 20s getting pregnant, many of which we obviously know are coming from single mother homes, there's no stability. Those relationships are highly volatile. They're highly volatile because of the lack of maturity, the lack of financial support or family support, in conjunction with, there's no economic opportunity for that young man. So what ends up happening is, and then not only that, these babies are being created in unmarried, non-cohabitating relationships. Like one of the reports talked about how, the woman, like talk about something about women having babies with men that they don't even want. I'm like, why aren't you getting the abortion? That was one thing that I questioned. And then the other thing, like not having contact with the father after notifying him of the pregnancy, and they don't want to be with him. Like it's just it goes back to that 1986 Newark video that, what's his name, Hyanki King, whatever, what's his name? He's got the PBS special where the women were sitting around that table talking about, black men are not substantial to the family and they can go off and be a mother by themselves and men are not needed and all that other stuff. I don't know the specific details of why these relationships are falling apart, why they're having babies while not married, but I think it's a combination of that PBS special and a combination of everything that Catherine Eden said, in her book. And there's also a documentary on YouTube. Just type in Catherine Eden. I think it's Catherine with a Y, Edin, and she has a video where she talks about it. Where marriage is an abstraction to people in the lower socioeconomic rungs, which is where most black people are. Okay. The idea is I'm gonna have the baby first, and then I'm gonna go, and then when everything is right later on, which in a lot of cases that doesn't happen, then I'll get married. And what ends up happening is they don't marry the woman, the man that a woman has, the man or the type of man that a woman gets pregnant by at 19 is not typically going to be what she wants or even what she needs at 30 when her child is, 11 years old. It's not. So what ends up happening, the same thing can be said for the guys. So what ends up happening, 19-year-old and 22-year-old, they have a baby together. Then the relationship dissolves, it falls apart. And because they're so young, they immediately go back into the dating market. So she's got a baby, she's running around back in the dating market looking for, a dude, and typically she's going to run into another dude who also, has a baby. And especially now, because that 54% of black men, like the culture has shifted, they're not looking to play stepdaddy anymore. They see that as a sucker's game. They see that there's no real benefit to it. They've seen the generation before us, play that game, and there basically be no reward, and they're like, nah, bump that, I'm not doing that. So I'd say now, contemporarily, these women are basically stuck dealing with men who already have kids. So then you get into, and then this is where it just gets messy, because And here's the real ugly side of it. You can't, it makes it virtually impossible to fix the black community at this point. And I don't want to like crush hopes and everything, but the reproduction has to get under control, right? Black women want to say, oh, we got to talk to both sides and have a conversation. But 54% of black men, the majority of black men don't have kids. They're already exercising sexual discipline. Okay? They don't have kids. Now, one woman came through and she said, well, women are supposed to get pregnant at earlier ages, so they don't really get to exercise and demonstrate, their sexual discipline. And I could kind of agree with that, but the reason why I largely disagree with that is what would be the saving grace is that you are only having babies underneath the circumstances of marriage. You get married first, then you have the baby. That is how a woman demonstrates her sexual discipline. It is sexually irresponsible, and it is not an act of sexual discipline to sit there and go out there and have sex with your boyfriend who doesn't have his shit together and then produce a child and then wash your hands of that relationship and then go back on the market calling Kevin Samuels up talking about, I got a 5-year-old and I'm looking for a high value man. You see, that's where the problem comes in. And so the issue with these, like, let's just say you got of this 46% of black men that are fathers, right? And we got to keep in mind that, of the 61% of black women are mothers, and of the 46% of black men that are fathers, and not to say that these people can't contribute to multifamily formation, because they can, they can definitely, be a part of this group where, when they were young, they had a baby with the wrong person, they matured, they got their shit together, they found a new partner, and then that set of children are born in wedlock. So you got a man and a woman that both have a child that was born out of wedlock, and if either one of them remarried and then have more children, those children were born in wedlock. You get what I'm saying? So it's not that the parents can't contribute to that. Now, I'd have to do some more research on trying to figure out what percentage of parents in the black community, or excuse me, not parents, what percentage of married individuals are contributing to multi-partner family formation. But all of it, all the trends, all the data, all the stuff that I've seen basically says that the people who wait longer to get married are more in a financially secure position. They like barely contribute, to this issue. Okay, the people that get married later tend to stay married. They're more financially stable. All the good stuff. Okay, all the good stuff that you would typically believe, are the benefits of someone who is mature and financially stable. It's the people that have the kids early in the early 20s. This is where all the disastrous stuff comes into play. This is where the black community is broken and it's a matriarchy. It's a matriarchy by default because let's say you got one guy and he goes out here, he gets with Keisha at 22. Keisha was 19. That relationship doesn't work, falls apart. Then he goes and gets with Tatiana. Now, whether Tatiana has a kid or not, we're going to say she doesn't have a kid. So he gets with Tatiana. Tatiana gets pregnant. Tatiana has his baby. Okay? And well, actually, no. Let me add another woman in there. I'm going to add 3 women in there. And he marries Tatiana. No. He doesn't marry Tatiana yet. Or not at all. Then another woman comes into the room. Her name is Alexis. Or Lexi. We'll go with Lexi. Okay? He goes and gets... Tatiana doesn't work out. He goes and gets with Lexi. They get married, and he basically raises, those kids as a father. Those kids that he had with Lexi, they know nothing but a loving father who's been there, who's for Christmas, holidays, birthdays. Because what ends up happening is the man, devotes more resources, time, and energy to the children of the woman that he actually lives with. Okay? The other 2 sets of children, they get a raw deal. Okay, they don't know a loving dad. They know an absentee father, right? Their households are matriarchal by default, or you end up with situations where the women go off and they find another partner, and based on the numbers that I saw, they tend to get with men that already have had children. So now those children are dealing with stepdaddies. They're not dealing with their biological father, kind of like the situation that Captain Solo went through. Captain Solo, had three stepfathers. His mother's second step-husband shot her 5 times with a .38 revolver, to let you know the type of men that she was bringing into Captain Solo's life. You see? So the thing is when we're looking at matriarchal and patriarchal households, when we want to use that terminology, if a man is out there, and whether he goes and gets 2 women pregnant, right, and he's not with the 2 women, or if he gets 3 women pregnant and then he stays with the 1 woman, by default, he's creating more matriarchal households than patriarchal households. Because you got to remember, black women are the most, unmarried, single demographic in America. So most of these women are not finding somebody new when they have that baby and they're a single mom. They're just a single mom. Going into, all the black mothers be like, and with the bonnet and the shower cap and yelling at their kids. And yeah, there's no man there. There's no male authoritative figure there. And so, this almost goes back to Umar Johnson and his statement that everybody thought he was being ridiculous about, which is like, black women are already practicing polygamy. And so basically, kind of like how Muslims do, they marry more than 1 woman, and then all those kids are underneath the same house. What I'm saying is that I know how people feel about polygamy, and most black people are Christian. They're not going to go for that shit. But you're already doing it. You're already doing it. So like the stepfather route, that's not going to be a solution, because first off, the childless men don't want to get involved in that. The second thing is, black community already did that, and that did not correct anything. Don't get me wrong, stepfather situations have their benefits, but patriarchal course correction is not one of them. You would need the men that are fathers to literally have all of their children underneath one roof, which means the women would have to, obviously come with them. They would have to live underneath one roof and function as a family unit, obviously with, him being, head of household, which would require resources, because the women ain't going to listen to you if you ain't providing. Even in Islam, the man has to provide in order to have multiple wives. There's rules to the shit. You don't just, it's not just some dusty dude with a harem of women. But no, the fact of the matter is, because of these dynamics, because of this having kids early situation, and again, not married, not cohabitating, situations where I think it's 58.9% of black children are born underneath those certain non-married, non-cohabitating. I think another 22% are born in cohabitating situations. I think it's like 22.9%, something like that. Which means not 70% of black children are born out of wedlock. No, 81% of black children are born out of wedlock if you factor in those that are cohabitating, because they're not married. And there's no telling which way those relationships are going to go. Most of the time, they fail. Yeah, y'all had a baby together. Y'all not married. Y'all living together in an apartment, being a couple. He's present for a while, and then, the fighting starts because the resources aren't there. And then y'all dissolve and break up, and then, he goes out there paying child support. Maybe he gets his shit together. Maybe he never gets his shit together. But he goes out there and he's doing his thing, and then, he might find another woman, he might not. But the men and I can't say this definitively, but based on the data, it seems that the men that are that are fathers are able to go out there and find partners in the future where that doesn't happen for black women. And, I think the main reason is because they're a liability at that point. I've argued this point with Captain Solo. I'm like, I'm not trying to justify and say it's okay for men to go out there and get with, have multiple baby mamas and all that other shit. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying, the reason why that goes down is because there's different expectations between men and women. If a woman is a single mom, she's not looking to add a man to her program so that she can take care of her child and that man. No. But if a man goes out there and he's got two baby mamas, if he can pay for that, if he can afford having, two baby mamas or one baby mama and a wife, a lot of women will go for that. It's just a fact. They will fight over a man that's got some change on him. And okay, he got a baby mama. Well, I'm the new woman, and we love each other. And I don't even think they really go in there fully thinking about like what that really means. You know what I mean? That a child that is not related to you is going to be in, your house. Like I don't think they really think that out. And then this leads to another problem, which is you want to talk about legacies and generational wealth. This completely fucks up legacies and generational wealth. Because you'll have situations where, let's say the man dies. What ends up happening is women are going to fight for the resources for their children. Let's say a man has a baby mama and he's got a wife. That wife is going to want the resources for all of her children. She is the wife. She has legal papers. The other woman, bitch, you just the baby mama, fuck you and your kid. That's the type of shit that happens. You see? And you can see real ugly situations like that. Like, I hate to bring them up, but, it's like, look at Dennis's situation. He's got his ex-wife. He's got the woman in Jamaica that he had a kid with. And then he's got this new Dominican, a woman, that's his wife. Okay, now what if he gets his Dominican wife pregnant, right? She has a baby, okay? You think she's going to look out for, Dennis's sons that are not biologically hers? You think she's going to go and search and look out for the woman in Jamaica? You think she's going to try to reach out to her and be like, Dennis left behind some resources and he wants to make sure that his son, has these. She ain't going to give a fuck. She going to look out for hers and she going to make sure, and the majority of those resources just going to magically disappear. The resources that are supposed to be divvied up and allocated to the other baby moms and their kids, that shit's going to disappear because the women, and this is just the nature of women, they don't give a fuck about the children that are not related to them. They don't give a fuck about your seed and your bloodline from other women. They don't care. So when you talk about legacies, or when we talk about legacies and generations, you see how this is disruptive to all of that. Everything is just going in all different type of directions. Some people have legal access to the resources. Other people don't because they were never married, so there's no binding contract. Like it's a mess. I mean, it can get down to just people not filing paperwork. Like what is a baby mama? Like think about it. You got a man that has a wife and they're legally married, and then you got the man that has a baby mama that they got together with at when he was 19 or 20 and had a baby with. And so he's been married to the other woman. He dies of a massive heart attack. Okay. And he's got, a pension, or Social Security, whatever it may be, right? That's supposed to, go to, life insurance, whatever. Where is that going to go? Likely it's going to go to the children of the woman that he was married with. The other children are like aloof. They're in the void unless he's actually set up things or put things in place in order to make sure that those resources get to his biological kids. You don't leave that up to women. This is the whole complicated problem of what happens when you split your DNA as a man. These are the problems that come up. And nobody really talks about the complicated nature of multi-partner family formation. This is why we have more, this is why the black community, by default, without black men, controlling the economic landscape, all that doesn't matter. Because if you're going to have multi-partner family formation, if you're going to have harems of women and shit, you would need to have all of your kids underneath one roof in order to make it a patriarchy. Because anything outside of that, with just by sheer number, you know what I mean? You gotta, and you can go. I don't like to go to the extreme examples, but when you look at examples like Desmond Hatchett, NBA YoungBoy, Future, Nick Cannon, you know what I mean? All of these situations are multi-partner family formation. And so even, let's just say, like, it's even worse if the man is with none of the women. Because, like, if, for example, Future's not with any of the women on a permanent basis. He's not married to any of them, not that I know of. So I think he's got 10 or 11 baby mamas. He's created 10 or 11 matriarchal households by default. By default. You see? 10 households where his presence is not there regularly. Same thing with NBA YoungBoy. Same thing with Country Wayne. Now, granted, these men are wealthy and they have resources, so they can offset a lot of the bullshit. But when you get down to people like Desmond Hatchett, who literally is in financial dire straits because he only has a minimum wage job and he has 30 children by 11 women, you see, he doesn't even have the resources to offset that. So he's created 11 matriarchal households. And he's not even a part of a patriarchal one. This is how the shit gets out of whack. So when people talk about, oh, you gotta move back to the black community and fix the black community and this, that, and the third, when you move into that sucker, you're gonna be on a block that is filled with nothing but single mothers. You might have one other brother that's actually there and actually present. But the community is filled with, these again, 13.4 million moms in the black community and only 9.2 million fathers. What is the difference in that? What is that? Where's the calculator? I don't have a calculator. Hold on a second. I should be able to do that math in my head. 13.4 minus 9.2. That's 4.2 million more mothers in the black community than black fathers. So I don't know what that would break down to, out of the 46% of black men that are fathers. You just got to know that there's a whole bunch of men in that population that have at least 2 women that they've had children by. And then you got the women that, they may not get remarried, but that doesn't stop them from having a child, because if guaranteed, if most sisters are not going to do what Six the Goddess did. Most sisters are not going to have that one baby at 20 years old or 19 years old and then stop and be like, I'm done. I can't wait till he's 18 and then I'm going to go back out here and have me some fun. Most of the women in 4 years, 5 years after, they're going to have another baby. They're going to have another baby with another dude that's pretty much similar or the same to the first guy. I'm not saying that no women can get out, where they go and they get remarried and all that, but the way that people willy-nilly get divorced, sometimes I don't even think the marriage numbers even really mean anything. If you got people that just, 80% of women filing for divorce, I'm not happy, I'm going to go and get married. Because you've heard the number of women that called in Kevin Samuel's show that got, three babies by 3 different men, or weren't married to their first baby father, got married, then got divorced, and then calling Kevin Samuel's show talking about, I'm looking for a high value man and I got 2 boys. How old are the 2 boys? oh, one is 14 and the other one is 7. Like this is what's going on in the black community. Y'all want to get, some people, some of the women, they don't like what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is, it's damning. It's damning. 42% of black women are having kids under the age, of 20. And you got to remember that, it's only 46% of black men that are fathers, while 61% of black women are mothers. And the reason why this football, a lot of it is in women's court, whether it's older women that need to talk to younger women and give them advice and tell them, hey, give them the big sister talk. Women have basically, and I know this is, changed recently or whatever is going on with the courts with the Roe v. Wade, but women have, this is the responsibility that comes with my body, my choice. Because you have 100% control on determining whether these children come into the world or not. Now, I agree when it comes to, men and impregnating women. No, you don't need to be running up in her raw. What the hell is wrong with you? But women have fought for the right to have an abortion. They fought for the right to have control over their bodies. And what we see is black women are not exercising that right that, you'll see black feminists all over the internet foaming at the mouth about. They're not exercising it. It's my right to have a right that I'm not even trying to exercise. It's like a person, it's my right to exercise the Second Amendment. Do you own any guns? No, I don't own any guns. But if I wanted to own a gun, it's my right to own a gun. There's people who think like that. Like, I'm like, damn, I'm like, I feel you. It's your right to own a gun, but you sound awfully charged, just like the people, who have guns. I understand their position a little bit more than yours. Well, it's my right. It's like my own mother. My own mother, she gets charged about the women's and abortion right. And I had to check her about that shit. I was like, and what child are you getting ready to abort? Like I had to let her. My mother's had her tubes tied. I'm like, and what child are you getting ready to abort? As a senior citizen, like, fuck out of here. Like, just charge. Like, I get it. It's the principle and all that other shit. But I'm saying, are women? Looks to me, women are not trying to take the responsibility that comes with that. Women, my body, my choice. My body, my choice. I make the decisions. And then as soon as they get pregnant, it takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. I'm like, that's not you taking on accountability or responsibility. It's just simply not. The having the babies at a young age is the biggest problem in the black community. Because at that point, not only does it contribute to, poverty, but, it contributes to mental health issues and just, a whole host of problems, because those kids are not getting full support because they only have one parent that's there. And especially for the boys, y'all want to sit around and wonder why, your little black boys are running out here in the community, shooting the block up, killing each other and whatnot. You got no economic opportunities for them. They have no hope, right? They got to go and beg a white man for a job that already doesn't want to give it to them, right? They sit there and they turn on the television, they turn on YouTube, they see all this wealth that they don't have access to. You got women running around calling them dusty. At the same time, they're getting impregnated by him and having babies by him. Like the black community acts like there's no such thing as dusty women. Like all these young women that are getting pregnant by these dudes that are dusty themselves. They don't got shit going on. Again, only 24% of black women have a college degree, a 4-year degree from an institution. The other 75% or 76%, I think it's 24%, but I'm saying 76% are not college educated. But yet, every time we have these conversations, it's like, oh, every black woman is Michelle Obama and Condoleezza Rice. And there's a whole demographic of just fucking hood shit. You know, the Sukihanas, the Glorrillas, the Sexy Reds. You know, I actually think Glorilla is a lot, smarter than, she comes off to be. You know, if you ever watch her do an interview. You know what I mean? But, and that's another thing, all this hypersexuality, in the music when it comes to, black women. I mean, I'm like, talk about putting the nail in the coffin. Our numbers were already fucked up before these reports even dropped. And then here you come with my booty hole brown and all this other stuff. And she's up there rapping while pregnant on stage. Right? Singing a ratchet song. Those songs are not going to age well. It's like watching Lil' Kim, up there rapping and talking about Il Nana. Nah, India Arie is 100% right. Her songs are going to age well. She can sing, India Arie can sing any one of her songs at 60 years old, 70 years old. You know what I mean? She can do the whole, coming out and doing a tour, in her 70s on some Aretha Franklin shit. Some Patti LaBelle type of shit. India Arie can do that. Lil' Kim, Sukihana, Sexy Red, Glorilla, they not. No, that's a young woman's game song. They better be planning for their exit. They better be taking that money and investing it in other places so that they can get out the game and go chill somewhere. Because they got maybe like a 5-year run, and that is it. Because there ain't nothing nastier than an old bitch up there talking about her pussy juice. Ain't nothing nastier than that shit. So, yeah, the kids at young ages, huge problem, and the fact that the marriage rates are so low. Because, like I said, everybody else just bump it up a notch. Instead of having kids in their early 20s, they're having kids white folks are having kids in their mid 20s. And, Asians, instead of having kids in their early 20s, they're having kids in their late 20s, early 30s and beyond. People will say, well, what about the Hispanic community? Why is the Hispanic community their numbers are very similar to the black community, but their picture doesn't look the same as the black community? I would argue that they have a constant flux of an immigrant population that kind of refreshes the culture. African Americans don't have that. Even though the Hispanic community very much is in similar financial and economic situations as the black community, they're actually marginally better because of the immigrant population. They come here and they have, it's better than wherever they came from. They come here to, make money and get into business. Right? Because, they have an entire network of things that they can get and they need, illegally. Like Cap was telling me about how, because he looks like a Dominican, he got close to some Dominicans in New York, and, he was like, they gave him, he had, some type of infection. They got him some amoxicillin. He's like, how the hell you get amoxicillin without a prescription? It's okay, my friend. It's okay, my friend. Captain Solo, yes. Que lo que, Captain Solo, que lo que, right? Que lo que, papi, right? And he's getting it. He got a, it was like it was from some Latin American country. I don't know what it's called, amoxicillo or something like that. He was like, how the hell did y'all get this? Yeah, so they got all type of networks. Family members sending, goods back to DR and barrels and shit like that. So, he's seen it all. They got all type of underground networks, as immigrants, when they don't give a fuck about what the laws are. They do what they do. Many of them operate just the same as they were operating in DR. They don't even know the laws, nor do they care what the laws are until they get jammed up. You know. So, I would attribute it to this constant influx of immigrant population. When the African immigrants come here, they look down on us. We don't know them. They don't know us. We don't speak the same language. There's no cultural connection. On top of the fact that they create economic opportunities for themselves, we don't create any economic opportunities for them when they come in. There's no connection to them. There's no connection to African Americans and Black Caribbeans. There's no connection to African Americans and Africans. Where the Latino populations, they have communities and they have a steady flux of Puerto Ricans and Cubans and Dominicans coming into the country, people moving back and forth and whatnot. So there's a lot of that cultural element, that comes into play that kind of refreshes the culture. Because basically, once you get into like 2-3 generations, you start getting into those Latinos that don't speak Spanish. You know what I mean? And then they're very much immersed in American culture and whatnot. That's when you start to see things break down. This is the same thing in the white community. Where people talk about how is it the white people are in the middle. I was watching what's his name, Cordone. He was talking about his white privilege, and he was like, "How are you a white American and you got white privilege and you're in the middle? How is it that Indian Americans, are in the position that they are, right? And they bring their relatives over. They do everything in the house. I've watched them do it. They'll have a hotel, and every person in that family plays a role in the business of that hotel. They ain't hiring shit. They might hire a couple Mexicans, to fold some towels or some shit like that. But when it comes to being the repairman, working the front desk, being the accountant, being the person that deals with the franchise, all that stuff. That's where they get their bread and butter. And they might send the smartest one of them. You go to medical school. You go to medical school. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. You go to law school. Because we're gonna need a lawyer. That way, anytime we run into some legal shit, I'm just gonna hit you up, and then you're gonna do it, and you're not even gonna charge me for the shit, because we family. Obviously, we'll break you off a little something, right? TK, right? Acha, hey, right? And they go off and they do that shit, and boom. That's how that shit works. But when it comes to, black people, nah, man. Like, we've been here. It is embarrassing. It's embarrassing that we've been here for so long and we still haven't figured the game out. And I think a lot of it has to do with, just trying to live up to the American dream on a superficial level, not really understanding how the shit works. I think self-hate plays into it. Having an inferiority complex plays into it. Where we're always trying to keep up with the Jones. Oh, the white man got a car. He got a Cadillac. I got to have a Cadillac. Even though we're killing ourselves to have the Cadillac. Not understanding, interest rates, appreciation, depreciation, assets, liability. We don't understand that. We just want to look like what they got going on. Right? And it's just like Waka Flocka. Like, when you look at I love Waka Flocka's growth. Like, I love Waka Flocka. I love, he's just like, man, I was on bullshit, man. I was on bullshit. And I love the fact that he just owns it and admits it. And, I saw a clip of him talking about him being influenced by Dick Gregory. Talking about, him driving through the hood with a Rolls Royce because he wanted to show off that he was better than the other niggas in the hood. I love Waka Flocka's growth. If there's any person, rapper from the streets, that has really impressed me in terms of just the way he moves, the way he talks. He's always talking about LLCs, S corps, trust fund. Every clip, I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, get your money, man. Get your money. You made your money in the rap game. You got the fuck out, and he ain't even talking that shit no more. I don't even know if he would even really go back, to that type of shit, because now he's more conscious of what he's putting out there, what he's promoting, and where he's at mentally. That See, when you in the streets, it's easy to do that because you in the streets, right? I go hard in the motherfucking paint, nigga, right? It's easy because you in the streets. But when you're not in the streets, and now you sitting there thinking about it, and then you get all this information, and now you realize how money is actually made and how to invest it and everything else like that, and people are putting you on game because you're rolling in different circles. It's hard to sit there and promote that type of poison to your people. It's not an easy thing to do. At least I would imagine it's not an easy thing to do. But yeah, man, we gotta get the kids, the kids at early ages, kids producing kids or young adults producing kids. That has to be taken care of. That has to be taken care of because whether it's the black girl who's 20 years old or 19 years old or 18 years old, and the young black man that's anywhere from 20 to 24 years old, those people need a talking to. Because those people are the ones that end up being, the women calling Kevin Samuels' show, or the men, sitting in the car making a TikTok talking about how they got 7 kids and shit like that. Those are the people that end up, really fucking up the black community. Because you have an overabundance. This goes back to that kids to resource ratio. You have an overabundance of people who were raised in single mother homes, didn't get the guidance from their father, don't have proper support systems, don't have any resources, don't have any economic opportunities. And then what ends up happening is that ends up expounding, exponentially outward, right? Because now that you have more, you got more matriarchal households, you got more dysfunctional children coming out of those matriarchal households. Those dysfunctional children link up with other dysfunctional people of the opposite sex. They have kids at an early age. Then those kids end up being dysfunctional and then forming more multi-partner family formation. And then it just keeps multiplying outwards. Meanwhile, you got the 25% or 20% of black people sitting around talking about, I got a college degree. And why is it that everybody looks at me like I'm a nigga, right? I'm like, you're outnumbered. You're outnumbered, just straight up. You're flat out outnumbered. You know what I mean? Like I have standards. I have expectations for my life. How come everybody's treating me like I'm not allowed to have standards? You're outnumbered. You're outnumbered. Most of the other people are literally engaging in bullshit right in front of people in real time. Nobody's going to look at you and be like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you weren't on bullshit, because everybody else is, right? And it's sad because it's not really these people's fault. It's the way that they were brought into the world, and a lot of them don't know any better. A lot of them don't get that talking to. They don't get advice. They don't get guidance. Nobody's saying anything. And a lot of it has to do even one of the most brilliant points that even Cat made, because he made this point a while ago, which is the whole thing about, he's talking about, because I brought up the point about, talking to people about this shit when they're young so that they don't fall down this trap. He was like, another reason stepfathers can't do anything to help this situation. I said, well, why is that? He's like, because a stepfather is going to have a hard time telling his stepdaughter not to go out there and become a single mother, because he married a single mother. And he's going to have a hard time telling a son, that woman's son, not to go out there and create a single mother for the same reason. Well, mom was a single mother and you thought that she was worthy enough and you married her. You see? He might be able to say that to his own biological children, but if he has the biological children with the single mom, it's kind of like, again, I dated a woman who's, I'm in the house and, black woman, and I'm dating her, and, her father married her mother and she already had a child. And what's crazy is she had a child with a man who currently has 7 children. So there's there's so one of the children has 7 half siblings. And then the girl I was dating, she was the only biological. She and her other sibling were, because there was 3 of them. She and the other sibling were the biological child of the father. And I remember I'm sitting there and I'm just, I don't know. I said something about stepchildren or something, and she snapped. She didn't snap, but she was like, "We don't talk about. We don't use that word around here. We don't talk about stepchildren around here. Everybody is a child." And I was sitting there, and the hairs on the back of my neck went up because I already knew the situation. I was like, how dare you? Even though I couldn't technically say that because I'm sitting up in her house, right? I was like, how dare you? This man took you in. This man, had 2 children. You don't even have to work because this man makes so much money, right? Because the father, he was caked up. So I'm just sitting there. I'm like, this man took you in. This man put the down payment on your biological daughter's house so that she could get her house. And you're going to sit there talking about, we don't talk about stepchildren around here. Like, chick, you need to acknowledge, lady, you need to acknowledge everything that your husband has done for you and your child. That child is not his. That is his stepchild. Point blank, period. It is his stepchild. I don't care whether he adopted her or not. It's his stepchild. That is not his child. That man, I damn near lost it. Because I'm like, here yet again, here we got men that are being sexually responsible and got to tackle the burden of dealing with women that had babies by another nigga that isn't even half the man of the man that they're currently with. That shit burns me up and pisses me the fuck off. And that's why I do not advocate for childless men dealing with single mothers. Because apparently, I'm saying they're going to continue to think that this shit is okay until they recognize, like, damn, these niggas ain't really going. In other words, childless men got to put the fear of God in these women. Childless men got to literally put the fear of God in these women. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, I already know what the women's counter is going to be. Well, it's not going to matter if the childless man is dusty and y'all niggas ain't got nothing to offer. I already know that that's going to be the argument. Right? And there's validity to that argument, right? Because if you're going to talk shit, you need to be in the proper position. They need to feel the loss. They can only feel the loss if you got your shit together, if you got shit going on that they wish that they could be a part of. You see? That's what you got to have going on. If you're trying to sell your alternative lifestyle, in contrast to what they're doing, you need to have or offer, something better than what they got going on. Looking at you, FD signifier. If that's not what's going on, then no, they're not going to feel some type of way. But yeah, based on the numbers, this is what's going on in the BC. This is what's going on in the BC. And like I said, I'm not trying to kill hope in people, but the black community is going to be fucked up until we get the kids out of wedlock underneath control. Multi-partner family formation should not be happening because you can't even begin to talk about legacies and generational wealth. There's entirely too many split households. Meaning, if I'm a black man and I'm married to a black woman and I'm raising my 3 kids together and let's say there's something going on in the community, I need to be able to walk out of my house, walk down to whatever the man's house that there's an issue with the children, and I need to be able to speak to him about how we're going to resolve this issue. Okay? That's a patriarchy. Me going over there and talking to a woman that's just going to be offended, I can't do anything with that. Can't do anything with that. And again, what ends up happening is, since the men that are operating patriarchally are such a minority, right? They end up leaving because they can't have their kids subject to that. They end up doing what Ice Cube did and move out of the, hey man, I got kids, man. I can't have my kids around this bullshit. There's no men that even discipline the kid. What am I gonna do? Go talk to the mom? You might either A, get cursed out, or have mom be like, I'll talk to him. You mean and talk to her son. That's why the shit is out of control. Women can't check shit. They can't check a fucking thing. For further evidence, I direct you to the conditions of a black community near you. They can't check anything. They can't regulate anything. And boys that do not get proper guidance, that do not get, proper training, right? And understanding how men function, when to be diplomatic, when to get violent, when to check somebody, right? If they're not understanding to control their emotions, because one of the things I hate about the ghetto, because the niggas in the ghetto are emotional as fuck. You know what I'm saying? In New York, they call them F&Es, feelings and emotions. But having a bunch of emotional young black men in the black community, boys that turn into emotional grown-ass men, and then you throw guns on top of that. Oh, please, man. Please. You'd have to go in there with a detailed security team to be able to carve out a space for you. Like, okay, we're going to protect this area, and until we can get a proper foothold. Because that's the type of shit that you would have to do. Because a lot of them folks in that environment, not all, but a lot of the men in that environment are fucking retarded. They're retarded. They do retarded shit. They do dumb shit just out of fucking boredom. Thinking shit hee hee ha ha, thinking shit, dumb shit is funny. And then they're quick to anger, quick to rage. Nah, you gotta have men. You gotta have men, fathers that are there, patriarchal fathers that are there, that have resources that can address issues in real time. That's the only way that you're going to have a patriarchy. If you don't have that, trust me and believe, I know the economic issue, the job, the economic opportunities, yes, that's an issue. Men have to have access to that. But when it comes to, disciplining and mentoring sons and even mentoring daughters, man's got to be there. He's got to be there. I'm tired of women running around, these mothers running around acting like they can do it all, and I can produce a sound adult. Again, look at the track record. No, you can't. For further evidence, I direct you to the conditions of a black community near you. No, you cannot. Y'all have not demonstrated or shown us any community full of nothing but matriarchal black women that is any place that anybody wants to live. You all have not demonstrated that. So anyway, I'm done. That's my video. SWP out. I'll try to make my video about my shout outs, for the Cash App. But I just, I gotta put this out there for documentation purposes, because you already know majority of the mainstream media that acts like it cares about the black community, even black media, whatever you want to call it, not new black media, but the mainstream black media, they don't talk about this shit. They come over, they get some university professor to gloss over some bullshit. What I mean? Well, what we gotta do, Barack Obama up there, we gotta talk about men not being fathers in the family. You know what I mean? And I'm like, do you even know what the numbers are? You know what the numbers are, my G? Do you know that 54% of black men don't even have kids? And only a 46%, a minority, have kids, while 61% of black women are mothers and only 39% of black women are childless? Did you know that before you decided to open your mouth? I don't think you did. But, it's become in vogue, what's the other word? Passe, right? to just admonish black men and say black women, they're out here trying their hardest and they're holding it down and don't talk about our queens. Like that's what the community likes to do. Even though 54% of black men don't have any kids. Even though we have 13.4 million black mothers and only 9.2 million black fathers. So, anyway, that's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.